the only event going on for the remainder of the year. We also have the Road to Worlds, which ends at the World Championships in August in San Francisco, California.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these players, just by making it this far, have earned themselves an invitation to that World Championships next month. So they're going to, again, National Championship is the biggest event. It's a lot of prestige, but, both of these players, I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure where they were sitting as far as championship points goes, but they're both definitely going to be attending Worlds next year, or this year.
I would hope so. They at least have the championship points to do so. And I can't wait to get underway. I really think that this matchup is going to be telling of just what Mega Manectric can actually start to do, right? Because it has kind of a bit of a toolbox effect because it has a lot of other Pokemon besides the Mega Manectric. And Jolteon EX seems to be the big player in this particular matchup. Jolteon EX can start kind of flash ring its way to victory, and your opponent has nothing he can really do about it. It doesn't have the ability to, it doesn't get shut off by a Garbodor. Giratina doesn't do anything to it because it runs basic energies, and obviously Seismitoad EX just kind of can't keep up with the damage output there.
No, I absolutely agree. You're gonna, if you want to, hot tip from Kenny Wisdom's keys to the format, or keys to the matchup rather. Jolteon is definitely the key to this matchup. I mean, you look over at Brady's deck, and it's all basic Pokemon. He has the Garbodor, but that's it. He can't attack with it. Every Pokemon he's using to attack is going to be a basic, and that Jolteon is going to be Nolan's main route to victory here.
We see the prize cards here for the Mega Manectric deck, and they're looking pretty solid. They're also looking kind of unrandomized. And speaking of unrandomized, there's a couple of double colorless energies here for the Seismitoad deck, as well as a N and a Headringers.
Yeah, so we saw in the Mega Manectric deck and Nolan's deck, we saw 2 VS Seeker and 2 Professor Sycamore prized. Luckily, they were kind of his bottom prizes. He's going to be most likely to draw those first, but those double colorless energies in Brady's deck are going to hurt him, although it seems like he does have one to attach on the first turn, luckily.
Right away, he does attach a double colorless on his first turn. Little does he know that's one of his only 4, or only one of his only 2 in this game for the time being. And the other one was at the top of the deck for a Trainer's Mail. The Trainer's Mail finds him a puzzle at time. That's one half of the puzzle completed.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and take the puzzle of time. He's just starting out early. Having that double colorless energy was a huge game for him there. Just going to go ahead and attach that to the Seismitoad. Not sure the rest of the makeup of his hand, but he's just going to try to set up a board and kind of try and outspeed Nolan's deck here because he just needs to have enough ways to get around a Jolteon, whether that's, being able to Lysander around it, but, whatever that may be, escape rope, but first of all, he's going to need to set up that board state to be able to handle that onslaught.
We saw that puzzle of time get played right away right now, and he actually got to rearrange the top 3 of his deck. I believe he put the N at the top of it, which means that he's going to have a supporter that he can use. And we actually see a Lysander here from Nolan right away, which is just going to signify the end of his turn. Nolan had no other play besides a Lysander. He has a lone Trubbish in the active spot. An N does kind of bail him out, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brady passing there. He does get to, rearrange with puzzle, put the N on top. He's going to have a supporter, but so saying, oh, man, that's going to be a pretty rough turn for Brady. But Nolan just has to play the Desperation Lysander, and then he gets N. So
here's the thing, though, is Nolan had a Desperation Lysander. He did it, and obviously he had a very, very, very unfair hand, just not good for him at all. Now, Brady, on the other hand, not knowing that he only had, accidentally flipped his deck halfway up, but not knowing that he only has one double colorless left in his deck, decides to take a little bit of a gamble, plays an N, and according to him, he thinks that he's got a pretty solid shot at hitting this last double colorless. But little does he know that he only has one left in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Brady there, you're just kind of forced into playing the N there. Even though your opponent has a bad hand, you don't have anything going on, you can attack, and at that point, you're just trying to say, okay, well, who's going to draw out of it first? And in that situation, you may as well be the proactive one. If Brady could attack, if the Lysander hadn't come down from Nolan's side, then maybe you make an argument that it's different. You just go ahead and Quaking Punch and hope to end the game as quickly as possible. But knowing that you're in a rough position and your opponent is, you have to try to be the one to be proactive.
By the way, you notice that he actually immediately got punished by benching that Seismitoad. He was considering not benching it, and he decided to kind of avoid taking any risk where he might get end and then all of a sudden he just never draws anything. But at the same time, it really ended up costing him dearly in that situation. And now another Trainer's Mill is going to find him a Floatstone. That Floatstone is going to be really big here, as it's going to allow that Seismitoad to retreat, and he's going to be able to Quaking Punch as early as the second turn, and that Trubbish is in a lot of danger as it's about to get knocked out if Nolan doesn't have anything else.
Yeah, again, Nolan's hand did get reset. Can't quite see what's in it, but that Floatstone was a great draw off the Trainer's Mail there. So we're going to see a Quaking Punch, and some amount of the cards in Nolan's hands just aren't going to be able to be used.
And Brady is not done here yet. He is going to be playing an Ultra Ball, discarding a Lysander, and the second puzzle of time here for him. And another upside down card. Now that Ultra Ball can find him a Hoopa, which it will find, and remember that Hoopa can find him multiple EXs. One of them undoubtedly is going to be a Shaman, in my opinion. And the other one's probably going to be a Gear.
Yeah, I mean, Hoop EX, we've talked about this card a lot throughout the weekend. Just in any of these decks, we said how Brady's deck was only running basics, and are all of them actually EXs? No, not quite. He has a Trubbish and Garbodor, but the majority of them are EXs, and we're seeing the power of Hoopa here. It turns that Ultra Ball into 4 Pokemon. Yeah, one of them's a Hoopa, so it's not really that useful. It's kind of like a trainer card in itself, but we saw here that Ultra Ball turned into Giratina, and Shaman EX.
And you actually see a parallel city in Brady's hand, too. So what Brady can do is play these 2 Giratinas, then play his Shaman, draw himself up to a nice little hand size, then eventually play the Parallel City and get rid of both the Hoopa and the Shaman, getting rid of these bad Pokemon for him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the powers of Parallel City. It can kind of work for you in that way, even though,
a 4-card draw here from Brady. He decides not to play his 3rd puzzle at a time.
Yeah, at this point, you just don't need to play the puzzle. You just want to keep that in your hand. Hopefully, maybe you draw the last one and you can kind of use it to its full effect. And I expect to see just a Quaking Punch here. Yeah, 30 damage on that Trubbish, and we'll see what Nolan can come up with.
Just a Quaking Punch on the second turn. Just a Quaking Punch. Another Trubbish is not exactly the kind of power that Nolan's looking for, and a double colorless on this Trubbish is also not the kind of power you're looking for. Another Lysander here from Nolan. He's trying to punish the heavy retreat cost here on Brady's side of the board, but you see that Nolan once again does not have a big supporter besides a Lysander.
Yeah,
and now a Crushing Hammer does get heads here, so that's a double colorless energy gone to the discard pile. That's no energy in the field here for Nolan.
And you got to be feeling bad if you're Nolan, even after that end. You still are just kind of left with this, unremarkable hand. A lot of that may be because of the Quaking Punch. It's kind of one of the powers there, but still, you're just, you're hoping, the end's going to save me, the end's going to save me, and you have to Lysander pass again. But now, Nolan does have the ability to use the item cards. Again, not sure of the makeup of his hand, but we'll see what he can get going here. But I actually don't think he has much.
Well, what Brady did was play a double Dragon and a Fighting Fury Belt, and just past the turn, he decides to keep the Giratina active for attacking reasons. But now an AZ here from Nolan is going to bring back up that Trubbish and going to just pass the turn. That's the end of Nolan's turn, and Brady immediately plays another double Dragon. He's now going to be able to start attacking, and he takes the first prize of the game. Nolan is in a lot of trouble because he's just not drawing anything here.
Yeah, wow, this has just been a very strange game. We see a Lugia EX come down for Nolan, but no, he just had no good draws, and this game could be over very,
now
very
a double
quickly.
Colorless Energy gets attached to the bench Giratina. This is way too many attackers building up way too soon here for Brady, and Nolan needs nothing short of a Jolteon EX immediately, and just to hope that that's going to be enough.
Right, we do see an Ultra Ball off the top for Nolan, so that's going to be his first real card to hopefully gain him some card advantage here, hopefully get something going. I imagine he's going to go for a Shaman and...
It never feels good to draw the Ultra Ball at this point in the game because you always feel like, man, is it really now that I'm drawing it? Like, is it too little, too late? Who knows? Like, obviously, you're at least going to be able to try to jump back into this, but what can he do? And this is I'm actually asking you this seriously. What can he possibly do to get himself back into this game? Because just exchanging prizes will no longer be enough.
Well, again, the two things working for Nolan here are that both of the Pokemon that Brady has knocked out have been non-EXs. So Brady is, ahead on prizes, but it's not, coming down to one more EX knockout or something matters. Right. Additionally, again, Jolteon is a huge game here. Jolteon kind of completely shuts down Brady's deck. It doesn't, there are ways to get around it. We've seen Lysander be a huge part of this game. Lysander, Escape Rope, things like that do work around the Jolteon, and this Giratina chaos wheeling every turn uncontested is very difficult to get around, but it's not over yet. Nolan still has a chance, especially now that look what happened. He top decked the Ultra Ball, Hoopa'd 2 Manectrics and a Shaman, and got the end. And now hopefully he can start to mount a comeback here. Yeah,
that end is going to bring Brady down to 4 cards, which is the start of a comeback here for Nolan. Remember, he still has 0 energy in play. Luckily for him, Mega Manectric does bring you back, catch you back up into the energy race pretty soon. But you need to hope that Mega Manectric can actually start doing that. Like, what if your opponent starts Lysandering up your Shamans, for example, and just one-hit KOs it because of that Fighting Fury Belt on the Giratina? There's so many things that can go wrong here if you're Nolan.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan's definitely on the back foot here. And this is kind of what we were talking about, right? So we see that Nolan doesn't have the Jolteon, so that's not really in effect right now. But Brady is doing exactly what we said he needed to do, which is try and set up multiple attackers, kind of have this. Let me look at this board. He has a Giratina with no damage on it, just Chaos Wheeling into Oblivion. He has a Seismitoad with the double colors on the bench, and then he even has a second Giratina ready to go. All he needs is a double Dragon on it, and he's kind of able to. His board today is just so much better than Nathan's, and or Nolan's rather, and he might be able to just kind of keep this momentum up.
Now, the Manectric does get an energy attached to it because, well, that's kind of how you win the game. You need to have energy in play, but he does pass the turn. Brady again with a Trainer's Mail. Does Brady find something good? He finds a Head Ringer. Head Ringer can go onto that Manectric. Manectric does not have any tools attached to it yet. And remember, that removes the possibility of a Spirit Link on the following turn.
Yeah, the blocking the Spirit Link, and also, if Brady keeps Chaos Wheeling, Nolan will be unable to play.
Versus Seeker. Will the Versus Seeker find like a Lysander effect? It does find a Lysander effect, and he actually goes for the Manectric rather than the Shaman.
Yeah, no, he right now, Brady is just saying, I'm in a dominant position. I'm just going to start trying to take care of your attackers. Those Shamans are going to be there. You're not playing special energy anytime soon, but I'm going to try and cut you off.
The Chaos Wheel?
Right. He should not be able to play the rough.
I don't think he can rough seize here. He is under Chaos Wheel lock, so that should not be able to happen, unless I'm mistaken. But
yeah, I'm sure that they'll get to fixing that now. Yeah, it looks like that's what's happening. They realize that the effect on Giratina EX, the Chaos Wheel attacks, should prevent Nolan from playing special energy.
It's very easy
cards
to take this
and
back.
stadiums.
It's very easy to take this back. You can just remove the rough seize, bring it back. You haven't actually drawn cards.
Yeah, nothing has actually happened yet.
You've just removed 3 damage counters, nothing else.
Yep. Good catch, Osoi.
I do my best. Every once in a while, I catch a thing or two. So there it is. The 3 damage counters go right back up to that Manectric EX. And the rough seize goes back to Nolan's hand. No harm, no foul.
Yeah,
back in action.
Pretty simple. No shuffles happened, no decisions were made. I guess we could see Nolan get a penalty here, but it's just simple mistake, and I guess we're gonna move on.
Right, it's not non-reversible.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so that's what Brady's really trying to do here is just say, I'm just going to try to knock out your attackers. I can take these Shaman knockouts, but you're not playing double colorless anytime soon. You're not going to be able to Sky Return with those Shamans. I just want to eliminate any possibility of you winning this match. And we see Nolan is building up that other Manectric on the bench, but taking a Manectric knockout, taking that energy, taking these EX knockouts is going to be huge for Brady. And he's just trying to say, yes, I want to end the game as soon as possible, but I also want to be able to. I also want to know that I'm making the right decisions, especially as he's at 4 prizes. So after 1 EX knockout, he can knock out the Shaman at any time.
Let's take a moment to actually talk about Chaos Wheel and how strong of an effect it can have in a board state like this. I don't expect for board states like this to happen very often. I think that Nolan was just in a very unfortunate situation where he just never found Manectrics early and stuff like that. But remember, if you see a Manectric without a Spirit Link on it already, and you start Chaos Wheeling, then all of a sudden their explosiveness just goes out the window. They can't play these tools. They can't play these stadiums. They can't do all these things that they're used to doing. They actually take full advantage of everything except the special energy that the Chaos Wheel stops.
Oh yeah, I mean, every kind of, a lot of these decks, especially the Manectric deck, but so many other decks in the format are just so weak to a Chaos Wheel, right? We're seeing the situation where even in Masters there are 2 Giratina decks in the top 4. We've seen this card a lot this weekend, and Chaos Wheel is one of those things where you kind of look at the card, you kind of look at Giratina, and you say, oh, I don't know, 4 energy, different types for 100 damage doesn't seem all that good. Even with the effect, like how do you power that out? But these decks have proven that the reliance on Stadium, special energy, and tools is so high that Giratina has become a real player in this format.
I like how Nolan took a second to, all right, catch his breath, relax a little bit. All right, here we go again. He plays the Versus Seeker, plays an AZ, brings the Hoopa back up to his hand in order to be able to play a Shaman, which will draw him 3 additional cards. The Shaman actually finds an Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is going to discard that Hoopa that he just brought back up to his hand, as well as that useless Rough Seize. And that Ultra Ball can now find him a Manectric EX. He can spend his turn just Mega Evolving to Manectric EX at this point, or Mega Manectric EX, I should say, since he doesn't have access to Spirit Link anymore. And that's going to be one way for him to start climbing back into the game.
Yeah, I don't know the contents of his deck or his hand, but I assume that he's going to want to start getting an attacker up soon. I think he just has to kind of sacrifice this active Manectric unless he has, I don't know, something, a super scoop up or escape rope or something weird. He does go and get that Jolteon. Again, Jolteon is going to be one of the keys to this format. Brady has no way out, assuming that there is a Jolteon with nothing else on Nolan's board. there's actually just no way for Brady to win the game from there. Unfortunately, that's not the case, as it tends to be. There are other, we've seen Lysander be a big part of this game.
Did he play a Sycamore right now?
Yep.
He played it outside of the...
Yeah, he played a Sycamore. And
now a double dragon does get attached to this Giratina. There's 2 Giratinas fully powered up now, as well as the Seismitoad with 3 different Pokemon with Fighting Fury belts. Actually, a Startling Megafun here would be pretty brutal against Brady. And now another Trainer's Mail. It feels like Brady's just going through his deck at an insane speed. He's just finding everything he needs right now.
Yeah, he finds that VS Seeker, which is going to allow him to potentially Lysander around the Jolteon if it starts coming out next turn, or just Lysander the Jolteon, in fact, because it won't be set up by next turn.
I mean, at this point, he has so many targets. He has 2 Shamans he can just Lysander up and win with. There's a lot of things that Brady can do to win, and including actually just knocking out this Manectric EX. He's going to take 2 more prizes.
Right, do we see the end here?
He's really just down to 2 prizes.
Nolan.
Any Shaman knockout at this point will win the game for Brady. Nolan has to end.
We're going to see an overrun here, and
You see that Nolan only has an overrun available to him. He actually just needs a Versus Seeker. He top decks the Versus Seeker. The Versus Seeker will be able to find that Lysander, which he already has played this game. The Lysander is going to bring up a Shaman EX, and that's going to be the end of game 1. Nolan Wilson is going to go down 1-0 against Brady Bourgeois in this senior division finals.
Yeah, that was a very well-played game by Brady. Unfortunately, Nolan just kind of didn't really get much set up there. He just didn't really have a chance. You saw those first early turns of, okay, I started with nothing, but I'm gonna Lysander the Seismitoad, see what I can do. Oh, well, I got end. Great. Yes, you're fist pumping on the inside. Yes, it's the end. That really doesn't draw you anything. You get Quaking Punch for your few turns. You finally draw that Ultra Ball, but by then it was just too little, too late. And that just proves kind of the depth and strategy of the Pokemon trading card games. We said, at Jolteon's huge. Like, what are you going to do, right? And then, it turned out that the Jolteon just came down too little, too late. Yeah, a lot of that was because of Nolan's poor start. But that's, just one of the things that can happen. It's one of the things that can, make each of these decks have a chance.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, man, I hate seeing games like this happen in the big stage. I hate seeing them happen in the finals because you really feel like you want to see both decks come out to their full potential. And what ended up happening here was the exact opposite, where Nolan just never got anything going. I mean, remember, he just played Lysander Past on his following turn again when he actually got end from his opponent. So he got a brand new hand. He kind of got bailed out, and his deck did not do any work to help him out. So it was 2 turns that he just had absolutely nothing going on for him, and that's the difference between a turn 2 Quaking Punch followed by a turn 3 or turn 4 Chaos Wheel and just never stopping from there on, or you setting up your Jolteon and starting to Flash Ray and putting your opponent on the back wheel. And that just did not happen. And I feel really bad for Nolan, but hopefully we can see a good next game or even next 2 games, depending on the outcome of these games.
I mean, yeah, the variance in the card game is why we do play 2 out of 3. Nolan's going to get another chance. Nolan's actually going to go first here, so he's going to be able to, or he's going to have a choice to go first, but he's going to be able to hopefully get things set up a little bit earlier. Again, I think really what happened there, even if Nolan had drawn out of that, which I think he could have, right? If the game had gone a little bit different, if the prize exchange had gone a little bit different, I think Nolan may have.
By prize exchange, you mean if Nolan had actually been able to take a prize?
Well, I guess I more mean if Brady had kind of was able to be stopped at any point. I think what would have happened was that Jolteon would have been able to come down, but unfortunately, because of the way the game went with that Giratina, the Chaos Wheel was locking the double colorless from being played, and so that's kind of another factor, is that even if the Jolteon does come down, Nolan kind of needs the Jolteon to beat the Giratina coming down. Like, Jolteon with energy beat the Giratina coming down.
But the thing is, though, Jolteon isn't the only attacker. Like, Mega Manectric isn't an awful attacker against these guys. He deals more damage than either of these 2 Pokemon that Brady attacks with. He has plenty of things that he can actually do if he actually gets to set up. I feel like Mega Manectric should, at the very least, be slightly favored against the Seismitoad deck.
Oh, I think the deck's absolutely favored. I mean, I think, again, where that speed comes from, where we're saying, he needs to get that Jolteon down. He needs to be able to get that Jolteon down and power it up before the Giratina comes down. Well, what helps you power up Pokemon is that Mega Manectric. That Turbo Bolt attack. It's going to attach energy. It's going to kind of, get around missing the double colorless there, potentially, if there's a Giratina attacking. Again, that, depending on the way that the hands shake out, depending on the way that Brady's turns go, that can be kind of asking a lot, but that is one of the raw powers of Mega Manectric, is just saying, I have lots of HP, I'm going to do lots of damage, and I'm going to build up secondary attackers on my bench with my Turbo Bolt.
Prizes are relatively kind here for Brady. Nothing too important prize, and if it is important, at least he's got multiple copies of it.
Yeah, nothing heartbreaking there for Brady as he gets set up, and Nolan's going to go ahead and draw his 7 cards after the mulligan.
Remember, we also want to see some Spirit Links in play before we get a Chaos Wheel activation.
Chaos Wheel or Quaking Punch even, right? So that's kind of
Right,
the tension
yeah.
of these sort of things is that, the reason that this kind of Seismitoad Giratina deck works this way is because you have the early attacker in Seismitoad and the late game attacker in Giratina.
Some pretty fair prizes for both players. I like to see that.
Yeah, nothing too
And there's
heartbreaking.
a handshake. We're about to begin game 2. Remember, Brady is 1 game away from becoming our United States national champion in the seniors division. Brady is facing a slightly uphill battle, but Nolan does have to win 2 games in a row here to become the champion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen the variance kind of break in Brady's favor in game 1. And, like we said, I do think Nolan has a good matchup here. And it's going to kind of depend on how these
Sycamore right
opening
away.
turns go.
At least it's not just a Lysander pass, but a Sycamore without playing any other cards is also not ideal in a lot of situations.
It was,
Trainer's Mail now from Nolan is going to allow him to look at the top 4 cards and choose any non-Trainer's Mail item card, or trainer card, actually.
he does find an Ultra Ball there. Could choose to take that. It looks like that's what he's trying to decide is, if I do take the Ultra Ball, what can I discard off of it? Interesting to note that he also had a float zone, right? Interesting to note that there's 1 Mega Manectric prize for Nolan and 1 in the discard pile. There's also 1 in his hand right now, so it's going to be all of his Mega Manectrics. I don't think he has any way to recur them. So he's going to have 1 to work with until he draws that prize. And if I remember correctly, it was 1 of the prizes he's unlikely to draw based on how the person's on the board. So typically you don't need more than 1 Mega Manectric. Typically you are, it has so much HP for a reason. And it can kind of, even if it gets knocked out, if it's been able to attack once or twice, it's kind of done its job.
Right.
But that is an interesting thing to know. He's going to have to be considering that. And I'm sure after I look through his deck and knowing he discarded the first one, he'll have an idea of what's going on.
So he Ultra Balled into which of these 2? Or both?
He Hoopa. He got Ultra Balled into the Hoopa, and he's using
the
Scoundrel
Hoopa,
Ring
there
to
we
get
go.
both, yeah.
I didn't see the hoop on the other side of the screen.
Ultra Ball has not been eroded in the past 5 minutes. Don't worry, Houseway.
Jeez. I never get the memos on these types of things, so you never know.
And there's that Spirit Link coming down again before Quaking Punch or Chaos Wheel can start. And we have a pretty good start from Nolan here. He has we know the other card in his hand is a Mega Manectric, and then he just via Secret for a Professor Sycamore, so he's going to be able to evolve next turn into the Mega Manectric without ending his turn, and then draw 7 cards with the Sycamore.
What were your thoughts on him not finding like a Shaman or something like that to go with these Pokemon?
I think it's probably fine. He could have found a Shaman.
Extend onto it.
It's also the Shaman is also a liability. Again, I think he can orchestrate a situation where he's trying to just have a lone Jolteon, or at least as lone of a Jolteon as possible, in play. And when you have the Mega Manectric, you have the Verse Seeker to get back the Sycamore. You don't necessarily need to commit to that Shaman this early.
Got you. So Trainer's Mill is going to find an end here for Brady, who begins his turn by attaching Double Color Energy and a Fighting Fury Bell to his bench Seismitoad. Remember, the Hoopa start is not ideal here for Brady. Hoopa is a Pokemon that you absolutely never want to start with because of its high retreat cost and ineffectiveness in anything besides coming into play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Hyperspace Fury.
There's a Crushing Hammer flip. Is it going to be a heads? It's actually kind of interesting. I do think it's a heads. So down goes the Lightning Energy, which means no Turbo Bolt on the second turn of the game.
Yeah, that's big. It is going to work to slow down Nolan a little bit as we find a Float Stone off that Trainer's Mail. So that was a big...
The Float Stone off the Trainer's Mail is also a really big deal because it's going to allow that Hoopa to gain that free retreat and now become a fine Pokemon on the actives position.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go ahead and, I imagine, see that Float Stone come down on that Hoopa, retreat to that Seismitoad, start the Quaking Punch lock. There's no energy on the board.
We see a Shaman in his hand. He's going to choose to play the Shaman right away. He only had a Double Dragon and an N before. He's looking for maybe like a Giratina, or a Seismitoad isn't bad, though.
Yeah, he finds this Seismitoad. I imagine he probably is not going to play. He's just going to go ahead and play the end there. He knows that his opponent has the Sycamore in his hand anyway, so he kind of knows, like, okay, well, you have to discard your hand if I didn't end here, so I am giving you a little bit more to work with, but I want to see some Giratina. I want to get some action myself, so let's both go back to 6.
Right. He actually doesn't need anything else this turn, but he's just trying to secure himself for a possible, well, not even a possible, but a possible anything besides just getting a Giratina with additional energy in play on the following turn. So he can no longer attach energies, but he just wants to make sure that he can keep this flow of energies going for the rest of the game.
There's the Giratina. He also draws that Headringer, which is actually pretty big.
Headringer on the Jolteon
slow down
huge.
that Jolteon. And the guillotine, like you said, is coming down. Just kind of a, secondary attacker getting there, and we see a Quaking Punch for 40 damage.
Yeah, 40 damage onto that Manectric EX because of that Spirit Link being in on the Manectric EX. It could become a Mega Manectric as early as this turn.
And no items are going to be able to be played for Nolan here, and it looks like I couldn't quite see his hand. I thought he was going to pass, but it looks like he's just taking a look through the discard pile. He does have that Rough Sea. He's going to go ahead and heal down.
Definitely play Rough Seas right.
2-1. And that's been traditionally kind of the ever since Hypnotoxic Laser has rotated out of the standard format,
Right.
that's kind of shown that what the weaknesses of Seismitoad are is, look, I mean, yes, he had the Ref Seas, but even then, even after attaching the Fighting Fury Belt, you're only doing 40, right? And that was always the power in the old formats is, yeah, you have low damage output, but you're also doing the poison damage, you're hopefully leaving your opponent asleep. And now that's why we're seeing Seismitoad be paired more often with these attackers like Giratina, where you still have a disruption element, you're doing a little bit more damage, and you can kind of, after the Seismitoad's kind of run its course, you can go, okay, well, now I have an actual attacker. Let's get this game started.
An end here from Nolan is going to give both players 6 cards. Brady actually had a Lysander and a Versa Seeker in hand. I'm not sure if he had an energy card in his hand. If he did, then his hand would have been very, very well positioned. But if he didn't, then Nolan kind of bailed him out a little bit.
Yeah, we've seen these ends go back and forth, and when you're playing heavy copies of the end, it looks like both players are playing 2 of them. Like, they're just one of the best supporters you can play, and sometimes, regardless of what you think your opponent has, you just have to go ahead and play the end, reset your hand, draw some cards, and hopefully try to get your board set up.
Brady gets a plethora of energy cards in his hand, and Nolan does actually attach a double colorless energy. Not what I expected to see get attached here, but we see an overrun here by Nolan. That's going to be the end of his turn.
If he passes right back.
Rough Seas immediately
Yep.
gets used by Brady. Remember, Rough Seas does also help the water Pokemon as well as the lightning.
And the Zero Stick there again is just going to knock off that double colorless energy. We've seen a Crushing Hammer and a Zero Stick just kind of slow Nolan down so much here. And despite the the matchup not being in his favor, Brady has been in absolute control of both of these games.
Now, with that said, remember Rough Seas is just going to bring Nolan down to 2 damage counters on him. So it's not like Brady's dealt quite a bit of damage yet. And at the same time, actually, as a matter of fact, Brady even has more damage, is going to have as much damage counters on him as Nolan does before Nolan even attacks here.
Yeah, and the damage, again, because the Seismitoad is such a low damage output Pokemon, the damage isn't even what Brady is concerned about right now. It's just kind of keeping control of the board. It's just keeping control of saying, okay, I'm getting rid of
that one, by the way? Parallel City there? How about no damage?
Right. I'm going to go ahead and take control of this board. You're not going to have any energy. Again, once this Seismitoad has run its course, I have this Giratina waiting in the wings. We said Double Dragon already on it. We see multiple DCE and Double Dragon in Brady's hand. He is actually absolutely doing his best to build up a board. That being said, the game's far from over. Nolan, we see there, attaches that lightning energy, and he, he's on the back foot here, but this game is still nowhere close to being over. And he's definitely got some work to do, but he can do it.
Might start to see a little bit more overrunning action before. I mean, Brady eventually has to run out of these energy removal effects, right? And that's when Nolan will be able to strike. That's when Nolan will be able to start using his Turbo Bolt if he does have a Mega Manectric on him. And now that's going to be a double Dragon energy and a double Colorless energy on this Giratina and a Versus Seeker here by Brady. He's going to be able to end his opponent here and himself down to up to 6 cards. 6 card hands each. But remember, there is a fully powered Giratina on the bench just waiting to come into action.
Yeah, and we saw Brady actually had the opportunity to play Professor Sycamore there, but he had a Double Dragon and a Double Colorless in his hand, both cards that you can't really recur, both some of your most important resources. We're just going to go ahead and say, again, we've talked about this a lot through this matchup, just the N is not the most, rawly aggressive draw supporter, but it's saving me those resources, and I'm going to go get a new fresh 6 cards.
Now remember, Nolan hadn't really been doing anything besides attaching energy on his own few turns. So Nolan does refresh his hand as well, and that's not negligent. It definitely can matter.
It looks like Brady drew 2 copies of Puzzle of Time, so it looks like he might be considering if he wants to play those now. Taking a look at his discard pile, kind of seeing what he can get back. Looks like he is going to go ahead and decide to play them, getting the Trainer's Mail and the Crushing Hammer. Again, this energy removal has been huge throughout this matchup, and we'll see if that Crushing Hammer can come down.
Crushing Hammer flip. Will he be able to get another heads and remove the final energy on the board here? He does. Again, 0 energy in play here for Nolan. Brady has just been dominating this energy war.
Yeah, normally, again, the Mega Manectric deck does want to have some amount of energy in the discard pile, but at this point, his multiple lightning in there. He has a double colorless. He has no energy on the board, and Brady has done such a great job of just keeping his board state, keeping Nolan's board state down. You're absolutely right. The damage output has not been that much, but when you have this control over the board, such as Brady does, you don't really need it to be.
Now remember, there was only 20 damage dealt here by Seismitoad because of that Parallel City, and that's just not enough damage output. So I like to see that the Trainer's Mill found him an AZ. At this point, I'm thinking it's Giratina time pretty soon.
And we see the Lightning Energy comes down for Nolan, kind of considering his options here. He does have yet another N. Going to go back in the deck for both players. Both players, again, not playing these Sycamores as aggressively because they have these resources in their hands that they know they need, especially at this point with Nolan. I didn't quite see what was in his hand there, but he doesn't want to get rid of any energy. He has only one Mega Manectric, I believe, left in his deck, so he definitely has to be careful about his resources.
Both players draw these 6 cards. Decent hands all around, I would hope. Nolan just aching to get going here. He's left overrunning every turn, and while that's not useless, it's still not enough.
It certainly isn't doing enough.
Did he deal damage with the overrun to the bench Giratina last turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it just feels like turns are going so slow, actually, believe it or not.
And we see actually an interesting play by Brady here. He Versus Seekers for a 0-6, knocks off his own Fighting Fury Belt there so he can attach a Float Stone to the Seismitoad. So kind of an unintuitive play, but he's saying, you know what, I don't need this tool right now. Again, he's moved past the point where Seismitoad, at least in this stage of the game, is going to be all that relevant.
Right.
Yeah, he's using some resources, but he's also helping himself out. Hits him with that Chaos Wheel. No more Special Energy, no more tools, no more Stadiums coming down. And most importantly, now that damage is on. Now that Manectric is really getting pressured here.
Yeah, now do you even want to evolve to the Mega Manectric? Remember, you're low on Mega Manectric resources. It's close. I don't actually know if you do. You now being Nolan can start Assault Lasering instead of evolving to the Mega Manectric. And actually, a Lysander here is going to bring up the Shaman, so that's going to be a couple of prizes here for Nolan without needing to Mega Evolve.
You guys are going to go ahead and take those easy prizes and say, this is the most use I'm getting out of this current Manectric right here. Just going to go ahead and knock out that Shaman, take 2 prizes, again, start winning that prize race. And he's very, very behind on the board. Sorry, I got distracted by the judge call there. He's very behind on the board, but he is, ahead in the prizes, drawing some more cards, hoping to draw out of this. I don't think he had much else in his hand.
It's not like the Mega then.
And it looks like Brady promotes that Giratina. Looking through his hand, taking some time to consider what he wants to do.
Brady doesn't really need to do anything besides Chaos Wheel here. And obviously, ideally, he'll start powering up another Giratina. But the truth is, you just want to avoid getting a Flash Raid. At this point, the Flash Raid is your only real concern because you're going to be catching up in the prize race. Obviously, you're dominating the energy race.
Well, yeah, the thing is he doesn't necessarily even... Oh, he meant to play the Trainer's Mail. Yeah. No, so the end goes back in his hand. Right, okay, so it's totally fine. Just moving a little bit too quickly for Brady, maybe. But
Versus Seeker and only a Versus Seeker there. Does he even want to take it?
And at this point, you're not even that afraid of the Flash Ray. You have mitigated the Mega Manectric potential here. Nolan does have the 1 Manectric left, but doesn't have a Spirit Link on it. He's not going to be able to play a Spirit Link on it. It needs 2 more energy to be attached, and he can't power up the Jolteon very easily because he can't actually play double colorless energy. So Flash Ray is pretty far off.
I think what Brady meant to do was he had 4 cards in his Trainer's Mill. 3 of them were energies, and the other one was Versus Seeker. The Versus Seeker was at the very top of the deck. So what he did was put them all back on top, and then he was considering taking the top card because he already knew what it was. However, and this is only a judgment call by me. I believe that the judge and the opponent said, no, you already put all 4 cards back in the deck. You failed the Trainer's Mail.
Yeah, I'm not a judge. I don't know. It seems to me like that's going to be the right call. Yeah, he has kind of signaled that all the 4 cards are back on top. So
yeah, the player and the judge don't know that he had it already set up that way where it was the only potential support.
And even if he didn't, you kind of that's kind of how not taking a card off Trainer's Mail is kind of how you say, okay, I'm failing it, right?
Right.
Very similar to if you search your deck for something like a Pokemon with Ultra Ball and you start shuffling without taking something. That's kind of your cue. That's kind of what you're saying is, oh, I'm not taking it.
Right.
I started the
standard.
Next step of the card. So
it's standard. It's just
mistake by Brady there.
Slightly improper procedure.
Yeah. No big deal. Just a little mistake by Brady there.
He might not have wanted
to have that
it.
Versus
Remember,
Seeker.
He was considering not taking it.
Sure. And we do see that knockout with Chaos Wheel. That Jolteon gets promoted, but again, no tools. He's not going to be able to attach a Spirit Link. No special energy. He's not going to be able to power up any Pokemon very easily. And
he had 1 Pokemon he could have played onto the bench, and he chose to play a Raikou.
He can... Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, because he has Parallel City.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting play by him. I don't know how important Raikou is in this matchup, but I doubt it's very important.
It's nice. It's a non-EX Pokemon.
It's also costs 3 energy to attack with.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's definitely not going to be attacking with it anytime soon. But again, he's going to just need to start streaming energy in order to be able to attack, and it's going to be pretty rough for him. I think there's a judge call again over the trainer's mail, or at least some decision making. It seems like both players have kind of stopped a little bit, but.
Well, at the same time, Nolan's actually kind of considering his plays right now. I think that Nolan has a lot of options available to him. He needs to find a way to get back into the game, and there it is, and it's an AZ to get that head ringer off of him. And now that Raikou comes into the active position, that explains why he decided to play it. He wanted to have a non-EX that has beefy hit points.
Yeah, just going to go ahead and, take a hit there.
Can he play that 4th Pokemon on the Parallel City? Isn't the Parallel City on his side?
No, that he's actually fine. We see that startling megaphone there, knocking out those tools. Yeah, so I'm not sure what they're actually calling there about the Giratina. Looks like they're gonna.
Okay, at this point, I'm a little bit confused. Am I wrong? Is that not Parallel City?
No,
that is Parallel City.
No, you're
yeah, I'm
correct.
correct. You can't play those Pokemon. It's on his side of the field.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, you're correct. I think they're trying to. I guess what they were doing with the Giratina is just trying to go back and figure out what's going on. But yeah, he should not.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm correct here. And
no, you're absolutely correct. Right. You are correct. I just don't know what. I just think they're trying to figure out.
Well, at this point, he's already drawn the cards from the Shaman, right?
Correct. I don't think the Giratina has much to do with it, though.
No, I mean, there's no effect that Chaos Wheel adds to that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry if we're being a little bit quiet. We're still trying to figure it out ourselves.
It's just kind of actually taking.
It's a little bit of a confusing situation, so please excuse the quietness while we're trying to let the judges and everybody else figure it out. It does feel like something's been going on.
Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to reverse as much as they can here. Again, I'm not a judge. We're not judges. We're trying to reverse as much as they can here. I don't know if the judges have been watching the game enough to kind of maybe reverse the Shaman draws.
Whoa, that would be that would be a little bit tough. But at the same time, do you really want to end the national championships this way? That's awful.
There's a reason we're commentators and not judges, Josue. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm a very soft-hearted individual. I'd be like, no, wait. Don't even give him a prize penalty. It's okay. Let's see who wins, guys. I'm too soft.
Yeah, it looks like they are trying to reverse as much as possible here. The tools are going back.
There might be a prize penalty or something like that issues.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Did he draw the cards off the Shaman? Are you certain? I wasn't.
I'm not 100%, but
right.
At the same time, the whole time I was just in my own head. I was just wondering, am I seeing something wrong? Isn't he not allowed to play this stuff? And then at that point, that's when all the confusion happened. But remember, I mean, he played it, and then he startling megaphoned. So that was the order of operations. It went Manectric, Shaman, and I thought it went draw cards, startling megaphone. That's what I thought happened.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around, but I can't quite remember. It looks like the judges are going to go ahead and figure out what's going on. Unfortunate situation for both players. Again, you're totally right. You don't want to see a finals of a national championship end like this. We're gonna go.
We're looking at all our monitors.
Yeah, we're just trying
hoping that something happens. But the truth, okay. Anyways, while they figure this out, obviously there's no energy in play here for Nolan. I'm looking at his board before the Shaman shenanigans and all that stuff happened. Right? He had the Raikou in the bench, and we were like, why is he filling his bench there? Because I knew that there was only a third bench spot that he could have. I thought anyway. And then when he plays the AZ, I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. He wants to have a big beefy non-EX. It makes sense. And then he plays the Manectric again. I'm like, all right, so we're going with this board. Now, at this point, if that's his board, or I'm sorry, not the Manectric, but the Jolteon. If that's his board, he needs to power up this Jolteon. He can't play a tool past the Chaos Wheel effect that's just been going on for a few turns now. And he's in danger of getting head ringered on that Jolteon again eventually. And at the same time, Flash Ray is not like it's a cheap effect. It costs a double colorless energy, which luckily he plays, and also a lightning.
Right, no, exactly, and he can't even, and he does play the double colors in his deck, but again, because of that Chaos Wheel, he can't actually attach it. And so that's kind of been the story of this entire game, is Brady being able to keep Nolan off of this energy, right? So he's sitting here in a stage where he's going, okay, I have to play the Raikou, I'm going to send up the Raikou, I'm going to, take a hit off the Giratina, but he has to power up this Jolteon manually. And we know, again, this is kind of how this Seismitoad deck has been, Seismitoad Giratina deck has been working, is you start with Seismitoad early, and then you go into the Giratina. And so
I think there was
Brady
a prize
has no
penalty
reason.
assessed, Bob.
Right, so Brady has no reason to stop attacking with the Chaos One. It looks like there was a prize penalty assessed. Brady is going to take a prize. They're going to move on with the match. It looks like they were able to reverse the plays, which is good. And it's like we're back to the game.
Right. Now, remember that also Brady happens to play the counter to a lot of these cards. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe Mega Manectric is not as powerful against this deck as we thought originally, because there's Zerosic, there's Crushing Hammers. There's lots of ways that even if you establish a Flash Ray, you eventually will have to run into the situation where you have to find another double colorless, or maybe even a string of double colorlesses.
Right, and that's the whole thing is, there's multiple ways. I mean, again, I think the Jolteon is kind of the key to this matchup. Flash Ray is very important. It can completely shut down the deck. But we see when something like this happens where I go, oh, I have to play a Jolteon on the bench and can't attack with it immediately or can't get it powered up immediately. Well, we're going to see it Lysandered, right? And, oh, you played the Jolteon, and maybe even you did get a Flash Ray off. Maybe things went the wrong way. Well, look, we got a Manectric, we have a Raikou, we have a Trubbish on the bench. We have lots more targets for Lysander. There's just kind of ways around it. So you really want that Jolteon early and often. And at this point, Brady has just gotten so far ahead with his attachments, with his board state, that the Jolteon is still a factor, but it's just being absolutely mitigated by how far ahead Brady is.
Now, because of that prize penalty, Brady is down to only 3 prizes. Nolan still has 4, but Nolan has no energy in play, and he's retreating to that Raikou, man.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and attach to the Jolteon, kind of a desperation.
There's a lightning. There is energy now.
We see as Nolan attaches to the Jolteon, we see Brady check his hand, see if he's a Lysander.
Charging up, but can the Crushing Hammer stop it?
Going to slow rolls with a dice by knocking out the table.
Another heads by the Crushing Hammer. That is no energy
the
in
crowd
play again.
Explodes as the no energy on Nolan's board once again. We're going back up to 7 cards off that.
And another Crushing Hammer in his hand. Why not? Just in case he would have missed. And there's 100 damage issued onto that Raikou. You can feel the tension here as Brady is just inches away from being
Brady
in this game.
is moments away from becoming the U.S. national champion if Nolan's deck doesn't cooperate with him over the next few turns.
Now,
Ultra Ball was the draw.
Again, another lightning. He's charging up again. Can Nolan find a way to stop the onslaught? Can Nolan find a way to just start to stabilize?
Seeker going to go ahead and get a Lysander there. Try and trap that Hoopa.
Do you see the speed at which Brady brought the Hoopa up? That's never a good sign of your Nolan.
Right, he just knows. And Versus Seeker.
A Versus Seeker off the top of the deck. Does he have the AZ in the discard pile? It is an AZ in the discard pile. The AZ comes down, the Hoopa gets brought back up, and now Giratina gets activated again, and the Raikou is going to go down.
I think. But no, he's going to go ahead and
choose. He doesn't even choose the Crushing Hammer at this point.
2 more prizes left for Brady. Potentially 1 more. He's going to go ahead and take a look.
I feel like he should have probably Crushing Hammer. He probably got a little ahead of himself.
Maybe I was wrong with the Crushing Hammer.
I think he had one too, though.
Blame him, but.
And there's another lighting energy onto the Jolteon. He didn't even have the double colorless there.
He can Versus Seeker for the Lysander here. Looks like his only option, unless he can kind of mount an offense here, as he can play an N, but then the Jolteon just going to go ahead and.
I mean, if you Versus Seeker for a Lysander, bring up the Giratina and just cross your fingers, or maybe the N though is just not going to be strong enough against this Giratina in the active spot.
I mean, we do see that Brady has the Versus Seeker in his hand, so either way he's going to be able to re-AZ if that is Nolan's plan. Nolan doesn't know that. He has to try and play to his outs.
Brady would love to use that Versus Seeker for a Lysander to just win. If he can just Lysander up that Jolteon that's for sure going to go to the bench and attack it, then that's the end of the game and the end of the match. Brady only has 2 prizes left.
Right. So I think if Nolan had tried to Lysander there, which looks like he's considering doing, still kind of feeling some tension here off that Versus Seeker decision.
That Versus Seeker could be the final Versus Seeker of the game here for Nolan. It could be the final choice, the final real choice that he has here to try to keep himself in the game. It's got to be a wise one. Which one will he choose? It feels like Lysander is like your last-ditch effort. The final hurrah, for example.
He's going to go ahead and take some time to look through his discard pile. He decides...
Goes for an N instead. The N here is going to shuffle both players' cards back into the decks if he decides to play it, but he actually goes for an Ultra Ball first. The Ultra Ball lets him thin his deck out a little bit.
Yeah. Looking through his deck, he's going to go ahead and take that Mega Manectric. But I have to imagine that we're going to see the N here try and prevent try and come down and prevent.
He activates a Manectric EX. Will he just play the Mega Manectric and end his turn? That is the end of his turn. So Brady does have the Versus Seeker in hand.
There's the
Versus Seeker is going to be able to bring up the Lysander. Is he looking for the Lysander right now? Is he going to do it? He Lysanders up that Jolteon EX. The Jolteon EX becomes active. Giratina is going to Chaos Wheel, and there's a handshake. Nolan Wilson goes down 2-0. Brady Bourgeois is your 2016 United States Senior Division National Champion.